LAN. Think of a local area network, or LAN, as your own private digital fortress. Up to this point, we have talked a lot about how we connect to the outside world using modems and fiber optics. But before your data ever reaches the internet, it must travel through the local environment. For your CompTIA A+ exam, you must be able to define a network by its physical and geographic scope. A LAN is the foundational building block of all networking, and you must understand its boundaries, who owns it, and the incredible speeds it can achieve. The geographic boundary, a single location. The defining characteristic of a LAN is that it is confined to a relatively small, localized geographic area. This could be a single room, a home, a small office, or even a single building on a college campus. The physical limit of a standard LAN is usually dictated by the distance limitations of the copper Ethernet cables inside the walls. Because standard twisted pair cables can only carry a signal for 100 meters, or about 328 feet, a LAN is naturally restricted to the footprint of the building it lives in. The principle of ownership. When you are comparing network types, the most important question to ask is, who owns the cables? In a LAN, the individual or the organization owns all the hardware. You own the managed switch in the server closet, you own the patch panel, you own the wireless access points on the ceiling, and you own the cables running through the walls. Because you own the infrastructure, you do not pay a monthly subscription fee to an internet service provider to move data within your LAN. You can transfer massive, terabyte-sized files from a laptop to a local backup server all day long, completely for free, because that data never crosses the default gateway to enter the outside world. Speed and latency, the local advantage. Because the distances are so short and you control the hardware, a LAN provides the absolute highest speeds and lowest latency of any network type. If you are communicating with a server across the global internet, you are limited by the speed of your provider's connection and the physical distance to the server. But inside a LAN, you are operating at the speed of your local switch. Modern LANs routinely operate at 1 gigabit per second, and professional enterprise LANs are pushing 10 gigabits or even 40 gigabits per second over local fiber optic lines. The latency between two computers on the same LAN is usually less than 1 millisecond, making it the perfect environment for demanding, real-time tasks. The wireless LAN, WLAN. As you study, you must also recognize a critical subcategory, the WLAN, or Wireless Local Area Network. This is exactly the same as a traditional LAN, but it uses radio waves, specifically the 802.11 Wi-Fi standards, instead of physical copper cables. A WLAN is created by attaching a wireless access point to your wired switch. This extends the boundary of your local network into the air, allowing mobile devices to join the local environment. It is important to remember that a WLAN is still confined to that small, local geographic footprint. The radio signal simply replaces the final Ethernet cord. Contrast and comparison. To fully grasp the LAN, you must see how it fits into the bigger picture. Inside versus outside, a LAN is strictly internal. The moment your data leaves your router and travels out to the street to reach the internet, it has left the LAN. MAC versus IP. Inside a LAN, switches move data around using physical MAC addresses. It is a Layer 2 environment. We only use IP addresses and routers when we need to leave the LAN and travel to a different network. By mastering the geographic boundaries and the concept of localized ownership, you will understand the private, high-speed environment where all data is born before it takes its journey out into the world.